Hello everyone, welcome back to Trading Edge. So in today's video we will discuss about a very important topic on technical analysis, and that is trend lines. So in today's video we will dive deep into trend lines, on how to use it, where to use it, and how to use it effectively in the markets to potentially find low risk, high reward, high probability trade setups. So before we start, do hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel to get regular updates. So first of all, we will see the identification of trend line. For the identification of trend line, first of all we have to determine the trend of the market, whether the market is going up or it is going down. If the prices are going towards the upside, so it is an uptrend. In that case we will connect the swing lows and extend this line towards the upside. This will be our trend line. For downtrend, similarly we will connect the swing highs and connect these 2 points and extend the line towards the downside, and this will be our downward sloping trend line. And also remember, for a trend line to be valid, at least two touch points are needed. There should be at least 2 touch points so that we could call it a valid trend line. Okay, see, this is the pictorial representation. Uptrend will connect the swing lows and extend it towards the upside, and the third touch will be a validation that yes, this is a very valid trend line in this uptrend. Similarly, for the downtrend, we will connect the swing highs and connect these points and extend the line towards the downside, and whenever prices will again touch this point and again fall, this will validate that yes, this is also a valid downward sloping trend line in a downtrend. Okay, so these are some rules and guidelines for trading trend lines. Don't blindly trade trend lines. We will look for other confirmations like market structure validation, strength of trend, price behavior, and also volume. We will discuss each and every point in the examples to follow, and also look for how many times it is tested. If only 2 to 3 touch point is there, it is still a very strong trend line, and we could look for potentially with trend trade setups. But if it is already tested more than 4 to 5 times, we look for potential trend reversal trade setups. Okay, so these are some guidelines. Also, when drawing a trend line, we will never cut through the bodies of the candles. In a trending market, pullbacks to the trend line provide the best entries, which are low risk and potentially high reward. And last but not the least, change in trend line angles can say a lot about trend strength. So these are some general rules and guidelines which you have to follow for trading trend lines. We will touch each and every point in the examples to follow. Okay, see, this is the first example. Prices were in a very strong uptrend, then it broke this important trend line, and see the huge downside movement after that. From an uptrend, it changed to a downtrend after break of a important trend line. And see, there are other multiple confirmations. This was a huge buying momentum, and then for the first time we saw a deep retracement in this uptrend. This was an indication that at this price areas sellers were very active. And then when prices again crossed this level with good volumes, it couldn't sustain, and again we saw a sharp selling momentum even after breaking out of this resistance zone. And also see the kind of volume that is happening here, huge volume after an established uptrend. So this is indication that this could be a potential exhaustion in the markets because it is overstretched. Okay, and then we saw a sharp selling momentum, then weak buying momentum which couldn't cross the last swing high. So this is again an indication that sellers are very strong. And then there is a break of this trend line with strong selling pressure, weak buying momentum. Enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. And here in this retracement leg, see the volume was very lower, and here what was happening, there was a congestion. So we were in a very strong uptrend, and the trend line is touched only 2 to 3 times, so it is a very valid trend line, and it is now also very strong. And also here we find a very strong support area and also a trend line confluence. So there are 2 structural support zones at this price areas. So when prices took a pullback and reached this zone with low volume, we could enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Why we will enter here? Because we were in a strong uptrend, and this was just a retracement leg. Okay, and also we saw fall in volumes in this downtrend. So we will enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. See, huge buying momentum. So this was indicating that the trend is very strong, and see how many touches here in this trend line, multiple touches. Again here another touch. Here prices were consolidating after a strong uptrend. So what is this indicating? That this price area, sellers were stronger than the buyers. Supply is overcoming demand. That's why prices were consolidating at this price area. Otherwise, if buyers are very strong, then what could have happened? Because we are in an uptrend and a very strong uptrend, prices should have continued its upward momentum, but prices are consolidating, and sellers are trying to push the prices towards the downside. But again, buyers are very strong, and they were defending the lower levels. So here a range is formed after an uptrend. And then what happened? See this candle, huge candle with huge buying momentum. Okay, see this volume. This is the highest volume in the chart after an established uptrend. Okay, and then a consolidation phase. Okay, so if buyers are very strong, then with this kind of volume, there should have been a follow through in the market towards the upside. But what happened? Immediately prices reversed and broke this trend line for the first time in this uptrend. So this is a sign of weakness in the markets. So we could enter here, stop loss here. Again it took a pullback to the trend line and also to the resistance zone. We could also enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. Okay, so this was potentially an exhaustion volume after an established uptrend. Okay, otherwise if this was all buyers, then after breakout prices should have continued its upward momentum. But what we saw, prices immediately reversed with heavy selling pressure. So this was indicating that this could now potentially change its trend from up to down, and we will enter at this price areas with proper SL for a potential downward momentum. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. See, strong uptrend. See the pullbacks, very narrow pullbacks with low volume, and the buying momentum was very strong. So this was indicating that buyers were very strong, and also this trend line is very valid. Okay, but what happened here? See the volume and see the candle. Huge volume and relatively lower range candle, and then for the first time we saw a strong selling momentum in this uptrend. Remember, we are in a very strong uptrend. Okay, then we saw a huge volume at the top of the range. After an established uptrend, we saw this kind of volume with no follow through. If this was all buying pressure, then after this kind of volume and this kind of candle, buyers should have continued its upward momentum. But what happened next? This is very important. Next, what happened? Prices fell down aggressively even after opening gap up. After opening gap up also, prices couldn't continue its upward momentum, and we saw a sharp downfall from this price area after an huge volume candle. So this was confirming that this was potentially an exhaustion candle after a very strong uptrend with lower or narrow pullbacks. Then what happened? See the buying momentum. Every time when prices were touching this trend line, we saw a bounce, strong bounce. But after this strong selling pressure, there was very weak buying momentum or very narrow buying pressure or weak buying pressure after a strong selling momentum. Prices were ranging in this narrow price area. Then it broke down here, so we will enter here and see the volume, selling pressure was increasing, enter here, stop loss here, see the huge downside momentum. And then after this strong selling momentum, again we saw a weak buying momentum. See the selling pressure here, see the buying pressure here. Okay, so buyers were trying to push the prices towards the upside, but what was happening? The selling pressure was extremely high. That's why buyers couldn't continue its upward momentum, and it was getting rejected at the higher levels. So we will again enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. So I hope you are getting some important points from this charts. See, the buying pressure was gradually decreasing. Okay, see, strong buying momentum. Then buyers tried, but they failed to push the prices towards the upside after crossing this important resistance zone. Again buyers tried, but again see the buying momentum. It was very weak. Okay, and the trend line is getting tested multiple times, so it was also getting weak. Then for the first time we saw a strong selling momentum which broke this trend line for the first time in this uptrend. Okay, but we will not enter here because there is a swing low which is present here, from where buyers tried to push the prices towards the upside. So again buyers tried to defend this swing low, and again they tried to push the prices towards the upside. But what happened? See the buying momentum now. The buying momentum was gradually reducing. Okay, and then we saw a strong selling momentum which broke this trend line, but buyers again defended the last swing low and again tried to push the prices towards the upside. But now this time the buying momentum was very weak, and it couldn't cross this trend line also. It was a support. This trend line was a very strong support, but after breaking this trend line it became a strong resistance, and buyers couldn't cross this resistance and continue the prices towards the upside. So again see this consolidation phase. This was also a higher low formation. Now what happened? After higher high, higher low formation, also prices couldn't break the last important swing high, from where huge selling pressure came in the markets for the first time in this uptrend. Okay, and then a strong selling momentum towards the downside. We will enter here, stop loss here or here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. So you should combine multiple factors before placing an entry based on trend lines. Okay, so let's look at another example. See, touch here, touch here, touch here, touch here. Okay, see the buying momentum, very strong buying momentum. But what was happening, there was decrease in the buying momentum. The swing highs, the distance between the swing highs were getting lower. So this is an indication the uptrend is getting weaker and weaker each and every time. Okay, and also the trend line is getting tested multiple times, so it is also becoming weak, and also we see a decrease in the length of the swing highs, which is also an indication that prices are decelerating. Okay, and then we saw a gap up. Okay, so if buyers were very strong, so after this gap up, prices should have continued its upward momentum after forming a swing low. But what was happening, after this gap up, prices couldn't break this important supply zone, and we saw a sharp selling momentum for the first time in this uptrend, which broke this trend line also. Okay, so there are multiple factors. Buyers were getting weaker because the distance between the swing highs were getting shorter and shorter, which was indicating that buyers are losing momentum in this uptrend. And then we saw a huge gap up momentum, but it couldn't break the supply zone, and from there we saw a sharp selling momentum which broke this important trend line support for the first time. Okay, and now it also broke this important structural swing low also. So we'll enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. Okay, see, same thing, prices were in a downtrend. Okay, but from here buyers tried to defend this level and they were pushing the prices towards the upside. But what was happening, the buying pressure each and every time it was getting weaker. Here the buying pressure was very strong, but when prices again touched this trend line, buyers couldn't push the prices aggressively towards the upside and break this important swing high. So we could say that the buying pressure is getting weaker and weaker, and the demand is very less in the market, and also prices are continuously touching the trend line, so it is also becoming weak, and also prices are forming lower high formation. Okay, and the buying momentum or the buying pressure was also getting weaker, and then we saw a strong selling momentum. After this strong selling momentum, what happened, prices were just consolidating above this trend line. Earlier what was happening, when prices were touching this trend line, we saw a strong buying momentum. Whenever prices touch this trend line, we saw very strong buying momentum. But what happened here, after touching this trend line, prices were just consolidating. So this is again indicating that supply is very strong in the markets, and then also it broke this important swing low. So we'll enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. And also see this slope, the slope of this trend is very low. So this is also indicating the buying pressure is not very aggressive in this market. Okay, see what is happening here, uptrend, then from here prices started to form lower high lower low formation. So we could say that it is in a very strong downtrend. But what happened, see this huge gap down. After this gap down movement, prices took support from these areas and we saw a strong buying momentum. Earlier what was happening, the selling pressure was stronger and the buying momentum was very very weak. Okay, but what happened, even after this gap down, prices couldn't break this level and continue its downward momentum. And for the first time in this downtrend, we saw a strong buying pressure. So this is also an indication that this area is very very important for the demand side or for the bulls. Okay, but again sellers push the prices towards the downside, but it couldn't break the last swing low. So this is also an indication that sellers are losing momentum in this downtrend. Again prices gap up, but again sellers tried to push the prices towards the downside. Again buyers defended this level and again pushed the prices towards the upside. So we could say that demand is overcoming supply at this price area in this overall downtrend. Remember, we were in an overall downtrend. Now buyers are showing some momentum. Okay, then again here prices for the first time broke this downward sloping trend line. But what happened? Again sellers push the prices toward the downside. Why we will not enter here? Because it broke the trend line but it couldn't cross the last important swing high. So we will not enter here, and it turned out to be a fake out, and again sellers tried to push the prices towards the downside, but prices are continuously making higher low formation and the resistance is getting tested multiple times. And also for the first time in this downtrend we saw a trend line breakout. Okay, so there are multiple factors, and then by forming higher low formation and the selling pressure was also getting weaker, prices broke out of this important resistance zone. So we'll enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Okay, see lower high lower low formation. So we could say that prices are in a very very strong downtrend. Okay, see the strong selling pressure. Here what was happening, after the strong selling pressure from this resistance zone and also this trend line resistance area, prices couldn't continue its downward momentum and it is continuously making higher low formation. Okay, so after breaking this important support zone with very very strong selling momentum from the resistance area, if sellers were very very strong, they should have continued the downward momentum. But what was happening, after breaking this important support zone, prices couldn't continue its downward momentum and we were seeing buying pressure, good buying pressure. Okay, and continuously higher low formation and continuously testing the trend line resistance zone also. So there are multiple factors. After this strong selling momentum, no downside follow through. Again sellers tried, but again and again they are getting weaker because the length of the downward swings are getting shorter and shorter. Okay, and also we are seeing higher low formation, and then we saw a congestion, a contraction in the price behavior. So there are multiple factors, and then after multiple rejections, see these candles, there are multiple rejections happening here. Sellers are trying very hard to push the prices towards the downside, but buyers are also equally very very strong, and finally they broke out. So we'll enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Okay, see here, very very strong downtrend. Okay, but what happened, after breaking this support zone, with strong selling momentum also, prices couldn't continue its downward momentum. Again prices opened gap up and sustained above this swing high and continued its upward momentum. So our best entry could have been around here with stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Why we will enter here and why not here? Because see, we are in a very strong downward momentum. For the first time here, buyers broke out of this trendline resistance, but next to it there was a important structural resistance area, which was the last swing high from where a sharp selling momentum was previously shown by the sellers. So even after this trendline breakout, we will not enter here because there was an immediate resistance zone present here. Okay, so I hope this point is clear. So even after breaking down with very strong momentum below this support zone, prices couldn't continue its downward momentum, and again buyers pushed the prices towards the upside with gap up opening, which is indicating, gap up opening indicates that demand is very strong than the supply, and prices are sustaining above the last swing high. So this is again an indication that bulls are in control than the bears, and so we will enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge upside momentum after that. Okay, see, strong upward momentum, but here prices were contracting and the trend line is getting tested multiple times. See the buying pressure here, very strong buying momentum. Then what is happening here? What is happening here? What is happening here? The buyers are losing momentum because the swing highs are getting shorter and shorter. So this is indicating that the buyers are losing strength in this overall uptrend, and also the trend line is getting tested multiple times. So there are multiple confirmations here. Then for the first time sellers broke down this trend line, okay, which was very strong and tested multiple times with strong selling momentum. Then what happened? Again buyers tried, but it couldn't cross the last major swing high from where a sharp selling momentum came in the market, and also there was a trend line resistance area also. And so we'll enter here with stop loss here and see the huge downside momentum after that. Why we will not enter here? Because sellers broke this important trend line, but there was a important support zone present just below this price area. So that's why we will not enter short here. We will wait for the proper setup. Again buyers tried to defend this level and again push the prices towards the upside, but what happened? They failed to cross the last major swing high, so which is an indication that buyers are not very strong in this uptrend. So we could now look for potential sell setup. Enter here, stop loss here, and see the huge downside momentum after that. See, the background conditions are suggesting that after this buying momentum there was loss in the buying pressure in this uptrend. Okay, so this was a very important clue. The prices were trying to tell us that now prices could now potentially reverse from this price area, and we will trade accordingly to it. Okay, see, again very strong downtrend, but what happened? After this huge gap down, prices for the first time showed a very aggressive buying in this downtrend. Okay, earlier what was happening, the selling momentum was very strong and the buying pressure was very weak. Okay, but even after this gap down, prices couldn't continue its downward momentum and it took support from this gap zone and we saw an extremely aggressive buying. Okay, so this is the first clue that at this price area buyers are very strong. Then see the selling momentum, very weak selling momentum, and it couldn't cross the last swing low. Okay, again prices open gap up, again sellers tried, but again it couldn't cross this important structural support area. So buyers are continuously defending this price zone, so which is an indication that demand is very strong than the supply at this price area. Then what happened? Then again prices for the first time in this downtrend broke this trend line, which was tested once, twice, thrice. In fourth attempt it broke this trend line, but we will not enter here because it just broke the trend line and just above it there is a very important supply area, so we will ignore that trade. Then what happened? Then again sellers tried, but what happened now? Prices are continuously making higher low formation, so which is an indication that sellers are losing momentum in the markets, and also the selling legs are getting shorter and shorter each and every time. So sellers are losing momentum and buyers are gaining control in this overall downtrend in the market. So after this trend line break we saw a retest of this trend line. Again when buyers broke this important structural resistance zone, we will enter here with stop loss here and see the huge upside momentum after that. Okay, so I hope you got something very important learning from this video. So if you find it useful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and also do comment down below if you have any queries related to this video. I will definitely try to answer each and every of your questions there. So see you in the next video. Until then, it's bye from my side. Take care everyone. Bye.